Ridge stands at the altar in his charcoal gray tuxedo, the sharp lines of the suit doing nothing to calm the turmoil in his chest. He glances out at the gathered guests in the beachfront chapel, their faces bright with expectation, and feels a wave of panic crash over him. Every promise he practiced now feels hollow. He can almost hear his own pulse echoing in his head, drowning out the soft organ music. Carter, standing discreetly to one side of the aisle, notices Ridge's stiff posture and the way his hands tremble at his sides. He catches Ridge's eye and reads the unspoken plea, "Stop this." When Ridge turns back to Brooke, who radiates hope in her ivory gown, he takes a sudden, decisive step back. A gasp ripples through the crowd. Carter crosses to the center of the aisle and raises his voice, declaring that the ceremony must be postponed. In that instant, Ridge removes his bow tie, drops it to the floor, and bolts past Carter, out of the chapel doors and into the pounding surf of rain that's begun to fall, a physical mirror of the storm inside him. Inside the waiting room, Taylor paces in her pale silk robe, distraught. She's heard the whispers about Ridge's wavering commitment, the rumors that he's chosen Brooke, yet her heart can't accept it. Her hands shake as she holds a small bottle of sleeping pills. Medicine meant to calm her panic, to silence the relentless questions in her mind. In a moment of sheer desperation, she empties the pills into her palm and swallows them dry, chasing them with a sip of water that splashes on the floor. She leans against the wall, eyes spinning, and within minutes collapses. Carter, back in the chapel to sort out the fallout, gets an urgent call from the hospital. Taylor is unresponsive. He races away, hand pressed to his phone, and moments later bursts into the ER, where doctors struggle to keep her stable. Meanwhile, Brooke stands in the drenched chapel, her dress stained by rain and grass, her vision blurred by tears. She feels a tap on her shoulder and finds Nick holding his phone, eyes fierce. "You have to stop this tragedy," he says. "Ridge is in pain. Taylor might not make it. You can't wait any longer." In that instant, Brooke understands. She must act. She tucks stray strands of hair behind her ears, lifts her chin, and follows Nick out of the chapel, down the winding path to the hospital ER entrance. The news crews are already there, lights flashing, cameras rolling. Brooke steps forward in her wedding gown and announces to the press and the hushed medical staff that she's going to marry Ridge here, at his bedside. Carter, still reeling from his own role in postponing the first ceremony, arranges for the hospital chaplain to officiate a private service in the ICU hallway. The hospital corridor is transformed. The antiseptic smell of the ER gives way to the scent of flowers, roses sent by Eric and Quinn, lilies from Steffi, orchids from Flo. A small crowd of nurses and doctors gathers respectfully behind a line of cameras. Ridge lies unconscious, and Ford drip in his arm, his face pale under the harsh, fluorescent lights. Brooke places a gentle hand on his shoulder and reads her vows in a voice that trembles with hope and fear. She promises to stand by him through every storm, to be his strength when he cannot find his own, to love him unconditionally. Carter holds Ridge's hand as the chaplain pronounces them married in sickness and in health. Brooke slips a simple platinum band onto Ridge's ring finger. Reporters scribble notes, live feeds begin, and social media explodes with footage of Brooke Logan becoming Ridge Forrester's wife, while he lies in a coma. The shockwaves are immediate. Legally, questions arise. Is a hospital bed ceremony, with the groom incapacitated, binding? Is Ridge capable of consenting? Rival attorneys preview lawsuits on cable news. The Forrester family convenes. Eric's voice low with anger, Quinn pleading for discretion, Steffi torn between loyalty to her father and compassion for Taylor. They debate annulment versus recognition of the marriage. Across town, Taylor fights for her life under sedation. When she awakens, she'll face the news. Her ex-husband is married to his other ex-wife, all before she drew her first breath of clarity. Brooke, exhausted, sits at Ridge's bedside after the ceremony, her wedding dress ruffled, her mascara streaked, scrolling through the endless notifications on her phone. She sees headlines calling it the wedding of the century, hospital vows shattered, Forrester family in turmoil. She leans over Ridge and whispers, "I'm here, Ridge. I'm here." Carter stands in the rain outside the hospital entrance, coat collar up, watching Brooke through the glass doors. He knows he played a role in all of this, first in stopping the wedding at the chapel, then in hastening the hospital service. He wonders if his own heart is as muddled as Ridge's. In the distance, Nick appears beside him, umbrella in hand, and says, "You did what needed to be done." Carter nods, but inside, he feels the weight of every life he's touched today. The panic of a bride who swallowed her fears, the agony of a man who fled his own wedding, the fierce love of a woman who refused to give up. He hopes, desperately, that no one paid the ultimate price. Inside, Ridge's vitals stabilize. Taylor, now conscious and trembling, is moved to a private room. Brooke sends for her. She wants Taylor to know the truth, to see that this was never a betrayal but an act of love for a man both women cherish. The nurse opens the door to find Brooke standing in her wedding gown, bouquet in hand. Taylor's eyes fill with tears as she realizes the sacrifice Brooke made, stepping in, saving Ridge, preserving a love that might have died on that sandy beach. They share a moment of profound understanding. Two women, linked by the same man, bound by the same heartbreak, finding compassion amidst chaos. Outside the hospital, the media circus shows no sign of abating. Paparazzi stake out the ER entrance, panning cameras through the windows. Online, fans split into camps. Team Brooke declares her the savior of Ridge's life. Team Taylor condemns her for capitalizing on tragedy. Hashtags like #HospitalWedding and #ForresterDrama trend worldwide. CBS releases an official statement praising the quick thinking of Carter and Brooke, promising that legal issues will be resolved amicably. But behind closed doors, lawyers sharpen their pens, ready to challenge the union on every technicality. As night falls, the hospital corridor grows quiet. Brooke remains by Ridge's side, softly brushing a strand of hair from his forehead. Taylor sleeps fitfully in the next room, haunted by nightmares of the chapel, of pills on the floor, of losing Ridge forever. Carter sits in a chair just outside Taylor's door, reviewing the day's events on his phone, replaying his own words at the chapel and in the hospital. Nick steps into the hallway, offers Carter a nod, then disappears back into the staff area. Ridge dreams, but of what no one knows. A wedding on the shore? A face in white at his bedside? Or perhaps a simpler wish, peace. Tomorrow, the Forrester estate will erupt into questions. Will Eric accept Brooke as his daughter-in-law under such circumstances? Will Ridge remember this day at all? Will Taylor's recovery include forgiveness? The answers lie beyond the sterile walls of this ER, in the halls of Forrester Creations, in the hearts of every person drawn into this whirlwind. But for now, one truth remains. In the face of chaos, Brooke Logan wore her wedding gown and said, "I do," on behalf of a man who couldn't speak, reshaping not only his future, but hers. And setting the stage for the next explosive chapter in a saga no one will forget. The sun creeps over Los Angeles, still shimmering wet from last night's storm, when word reaches Forrester Creations that Ridge Forrester has finally stirred. Within the grand stone walls of the estate, Eric Forrester paces behind the massive conference table, Quinn Carter perched at its edge, steepling her fingers, and Steffi pacing like a caged tigress. Emma Barber, the family lawyer flown in on an emergency charter, clicks through her tablet slides. Valid consent under duress? Incapacity at time of ceremony? Grounds for immediate annulment. Each question lands like a hammer blow. Quinn whispers that Brooke's public statement, "I did what I had to do to keep Ridge alive," may sway public sympathy, but Eric growls that sympathy won't protect their legacy if the union unravels in court. Outside, paparazzi swarm the hedges. Inside, the family weighs strategy like a tribunal. Across town, Taylor Hayes' recovery is painfully slow. Physical therapists coax her to sit upright. Her mind flits between fragments, memories of Ridge's face, the blare of sirens, Brooke in white. When she finally sees Carter beside her bed, his face drawn and haunted, she demands to know what happened. Nick's earlier intervention in the chapel hangs between them. Carter can only cradle her hand, voice thick. "I delayed the wedding so you'd have time to calm down. You were in crisis. You needed help." Taylor's eyes widen, tears slipping. "And Brooke?" Carter hesitates, then tells her everything. The chapel postponement, Ridge's flight, the ER ceremony. Taylor's grief erupts, but beneath it, a flicker of understanding. Brooke saved Ridge, even as she shattered Taylor's hopes. Meanwhile, Ridge drifts between sleep and waking, haunted by fever dreams of two women in white arguing his name, the steady beep of a heart monitor, the echo of Brooke's vows. When he finally opens his eyes to fluorescent light and monitors, Brooke is there, again, in her wedding dress, sleeves pushed up, smoothing his sheets. Relief floods his expression, then confusion. "Brooke." She smiles, gentle but fierce, and takes his hand. "I'm here, Ridge. We're married." He blinks, mind racing. "We..." "What?" Panic flares as fragments coalesce. The hospital service, the ring, the cameras. Blood rushes to his temples. "I can't. I didn't." Brooke presses her forehead to his. "You were asleep. I spoke for you. I promised to love you. The ring is real." Ridge's chest tightens. Does he remember saying yes? Does he consent now? His heart screams for Taylor, even as Brooke's unwavering gaze anchors him. Across the hall, Taylor demands to see Ridge. Carter waits outside Ridge's door as Taylor, fragile but determined, presses her hand to the frosted glass. When the nurse opens it, Brooke stands, dress still stained at the hem, her bouquet wilted but clasped firmly. Taylor's eyes sharpen. "You married him while he was unconscious." Brooke nods, bracing. "He needed me. You had your moment, Taylor. You asked for postponement. I just did what needed to be done." The world narrows to their gaze, two women bound by love and loss. Taylor's voice quivers. "He loved me first." Brooke's answer is soft steel. "He's my husband now. But I won't stand in your way." The defiance and compassion entwine until Taylor, tears falling, whispers, "Don't ever leave him." Brooke presses her cheek to Taylor's forehead. "I won't." Back at Forrester Creations, Eric calls an emergency board meeting to address the legal storm. Ridge, still weak but lucid, arrives in a wheelchair pushed by Carter. The boardroom falls silent as he wheels in wearing a loose collar shirt and hospital slippers. Papers shuffle as Emma outlines potential challenges. Under California family law, capacity is key. But if Ridge reviews and ratifies the marriage now, that strengthens Brooke's claim. Ridge swallows. He looks at Brooke, seated in the front row, pale but poised, and then at Taylor, who stands at the back, supported by Carter. His mouth opens, voice hoarse. "I want both of you in my life." Gasps ripple. Quinn's hand flies to her mouth. Eric's jaw clenches. "Explain," Eric demands. Ridge grips the armrests. "I love Taylor. I always will. But Brooke saved me. She stood by me when I couldn't stand for myself. I want to honor that. He glances at Brooke, whose eyes glisten with tears. I want to make this right, he says. I'd like to draft a post-nuptial agreement, protections for Taylor's rights, clear definitions of our future. The board exhales. Emma nods that it's a wise path. Quinn looks betrayed. Steffi bites her lip, pride warring with relief. Taylor, from the back, allows herself a small nod. That evening, Ridge asks Carter and Nick to join him in the design loft. The rain has returned, tapping the skylight above. Ridge pulls 2 slips of paper from his jacket pocket. One, a simple sheet stating that he overlays equal partnership between Brooke and Taylor within his life and business. The other, a letter of apology to Taylor, acknowledging the pain his indecision caused. I can't lose either of you, he admits. Carter rubs his temples. Nick leans forward. You're rewriting the rules of Forrester Dynasty, Ridge. This is unprecedented. Ridge lights a cigarette, his first in months, and exhales. Broadcast it tomorrow. We're co-guardians of my heart. Brooke remains my wife. Taylor remains my love. And Forrester Creations remains our home. As they speak, the cameras outside flash relentlessly. The tabloid headlines have already spun wild theories. Triangle truce, Forrester Unity Pact, Brooke and Taylor, allies at last. Social media churns. But inside the loft, time crystallizes. 3 men huddled around a destiny rewritten. Late that night, Ridge lies in the darkened hospital room, Brooke asleep in a chair, Taylor's card on the bedside table. He closes his eyes and dreams of a runway strewn with rose petals, 2 figures emerging, one to his right, one to his left, each extending a hand. He floats between them, heart-torn, yet anchored by hope that love, in all its forms, can endure. Outside, the city lights blur through the rain-streaked window. Tomorrow, the legal papers will be signed, the cameras will swarm, and the Forrester saga will roar on. But for this fleeting moment, Ridge allows himself to believe that love, complicated, messy, radiant, might just find a way.